Welcome back to the Crypto's Key conversation. I wanted to touch on this real quick. As you can see, we're under $1 trillion market cap, currently sitting at 997 billion. If we come down here, Bitcoin is sitting at 19,657. Check this out on XRP in the number 7 spot here, sitting at just under 34.5 cents, currently up 4%. So as you know, Bitcoin and the like are falling, you know, XRP is kind of having some good price action. I know we've kind of just been down and haven't really had much of a spring, if you will, or like some sort of boost up. But this is kind of interesting to see, especially as we grow closer to litigation kind of wrapping up here, whether that's through a settlement or as we go through the full litigation. But I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was quite interesting. I wanted to start with James K. Fallon's tweet here. It says, let me zoom in. Half the fact sheet, White House releases first ever comprehensive framework for responsible development of digital assets. Coming down here without going through that document, it says, consistent with, or this is quote unquote, says, quote, consistent with their mandates. This is why the SEC is doing everything it possibly can to elbow the CFTC out and grab all the power that it can get to regulate the digital asset space. So he's referring to this piece of the document here. It says the reports encourage regulators like the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, consistent with their mandates, to aggressively pursue investigations and enforcement actions against unlawful practices in the digital asset space. So with that being said, it's quite clear, you know, why Gary Gensler and SC are going about their tactics and strategy in regards of regulating by enforcement and just trying to attack as much as possible. So they're literally casting out their little devil dragon wings, or if you will, and trying to encapsulate as much as they possibly can within the digital asset space, the crypto space, which is kind of crazy. I'm going to click over here. LBRY had put this up. It says, yesterday, Gary Gensler testified the SEC would need another 10 years before they could release public rules on blockchain. Make no mistake, Gary Gensler is out to destroy cryptocurrencies in the United States. They continue, this means that if you had a baby when the first Bitcoin block was mined, the baby would be old enough to drink before the SEC plans to publicly release blockchain rules. I mean, can you really think about that? Like if they think that's something that is likely and that is just, oh man, they are sadly mistaken. That is terrible. I mean, look at the growth and adoption and just awareness and eyes that are on the space. Yeah, it's not, you know, the entire globe, not every individual, you know, what is it, over 7 billion or whatever that number is. But I mean, it's growing rapidly. And to say 10 years before you can publicly release some, you know, I guess some regulation or some sort of guideline or guidebook for this space, that's absolutely nuts, man. Eleanor Terry put this up. It says, did Gary Gensler indirectly reveal his stance on Ethereum at today's banking GOP hearing? So he's talking about she's talking about the banking GOP hearing that happened when our chairman Gensler has sat in front of Congress, which was a 2-hour joke, in my opinion. For me, from what I've watched of it, it was just like, okay, really, I mean, they're not really pressuring him and you know, holding him accountable, and he's giving roundabout and nonchalant answers. So it was just a waste of time personally. But there were some insightful things that Stuart Alderati, Ripple's general counsel, Eleanor Terry, and you know, Johnny Dean and the like were kind of bringing out some important verbiage that was used within his speech here. But it says, quote, a common enterprise, a group of individuals in the middle. The developer is in the middle, and the investing public is betting on them, counting on them, even if the token might be on 1,000 computers. It's the group of developers in the middle. Ethereum's merge was pulled off by a group of core developers that arguably the public was counting on to execute and get right. Does that make it a common enterprise, thus a security in Gensler's eyes? So I think I had an image. Where's the image at? Yeah, right here. So it says, Ether's new staking model could draw SEC attention. SEC chair says system used by Ether following software update could trigger securities laws. So the whole conversation was, okay, well, is it official that, you know, Gary Gensler is pretty much priming himself to go after Ethereum? And that's kind of been the speculation and conversation that's been happening within the Twitterverse here. XRP Crypto Wolf says, Gary seems to have made it clear he's coming for every crypto except Bitcoin. I mean, that's kind of what we've been saying on this channel. So it's going to be a waiting game to kind of see what happens. Stuart Alderati has said something in regards of, this was his statement that happened yesterday in regards to the Senate banking meeting. He says, Chair Gensler misstated the Supreme Court test to determine what is and what isn't a security. Was it intentional, or does he really not know the law? Which is worse? So he responds to that today and says, Gensler said it's a security if, quote, the investing public is anticipating profits based on the efforts of a common enterprise. The courts already rejected that because it collapses two separate Howey prongs into one. And, quote, we do not interpret the Howey test to be so easily satisfied. This is not the law, period. So it's interesting. And this is from LBRY right here. It says, responding to Stuart Alderati, it says, there was an interesting back and forth in our case where the judge hypothesizes a, quote, set it and forget it coin where explicitly promise you will never improve it or market it. SEC appears to believe more ability for price movement and sufficient to make it a security. So, based out of everything, there's two things. Obviously, clearly Chairman Gensler doesn't know what the heck's going on when it comes to laws, and he's literally, even when he would have his interviews on the major media platforms, and he would talk about certain things, he wouldn't talk about all four prongs. He would either talk about two or three of them, which is completely wrong. You have to satisfy all prongs of the Howey test to be considered a security, but he only talked about two or three of them when he was trying to argue the case of most of the digital assets in the space are securities, and he's getting more bold as he states that claim. Another thing is like when it comes to whenever the Chairman Gensler and the SEC goes after, whether it's platforms, staking lending platforms, exchanges, or other blockchain companies or digital assets, like they almost like go after them. Obviously to, overpower them and just, get them to kind of bow down and settle, which isn't in the favor of the innovation within the space. It's just for the SEC to gain more control. And what they do is they gather, it's almost like check boxes, like, hey, we got to make sure we get this within this case so we can use this for the next case. Obviously, they're utilizing a lot of that stuff with the LBRY case. If a lot of things go in the favor of the SEC in the LBRY versus SC case, they're going to try to utilize that within the Ripple versus SC case and gain strength. So here's the thing that's crazy. It's like, why is so much information and documentation, under seal, and how come, a lot of that information can't get out? Perfect example is the whole him in emails and drafts of the Ethereum free pass speech that he gave back in June 2018. It's like, we as an industry need that information. So obviously Ripple can rightfully defend themselves within litigation, right? That's fair and just for the space. But if they're redacting things and they're filing things under seal, so no other project can utilize the information that was brought out in each of these different court cases, how is that gonna benefit and foster growth and health and prosperity and not hinder innovation within the space if that's like their tactic? It's absolutely crazy. So, when XRP Crypto Wolf and, a lot of the rest, a lot of other members within the XRP community, and they talk about, the Chairman Gensler is really out to destroy cryptocurrency within the United States. It's like, it's quite evident based on the evidence that we have. It's crazy, man. It's just kind of going to be a waiting game to kind of see what happens. LBRY put this up. Obviously, I showed you this. It says, LBRY says it's time for Ethereum, Ripple, and LBRY armies to join forces. So we talk about on this channel and a lot through the XRP community, like, hey, let's stop this divide. Let's stop this tribalism and come together and realize that we're all on the same team. Yeah, we may have different names. We may have different utility and use cases. But at the end of the day, it's the crypto industry versus everything else. So we have to do everything in our power to band together as a decentralized community, come together and fight for the health and welfare and prosperity within our space. And this is a perfect example right here. It's time for Ethereum, Ripple, and LBRY armies to join forces. Whether Chairman Gensler and SEC are going after whether they're going after Ethereum, it doesn't matter. Like the potential is there. They're looking at everybody in the crypto industry. So it's like, why not band together to fight the good fight? Don't do what, Brian Armstrong and Coinbase did and kind of just cower down and not step up, or do what Vitalik Buterin did and, just shoot down a project. That's not what it's about. Yeah, there's, you may not agree with certain things other projects are doing, or you may not like this developer or this CEO. It doesn't matter. Just realize we're all on the same team at the end of the day, period. Wheezy X had put this up. It says Vitalik told y'all what was going to happen with the merge. No one seems to care. Ethereum is now more centralized, with JP Morgan not only owning a critical part of Ethereum, but I can bet dimes to donuts they are one of those top validators. So I'm gonna show you what he means by one of those top validators. But I love when like Wheezy X, community members, especially like digital asset investor, quote Mike Novogratz when he says, "I bet dimes to donuts," because that's like a big theme that he utilized when he was talking about shorting XRP and bet dimes to donuts, that the SEC was gonna go after a so-called big crypto project where it's like he had inside information on what's going to happen with the lawsuit and whatnot in this whole Ethereum free pass. It's crazy. But anyways, so he's talking about JP Morgan being one of the top validators and one of the central entities that own a critical part of Ethereum's infrastructure. So if you come over here, Sentiment had put this up. It says, according to the Ethereum post-merge inflation dashboard, 46.15% of the proof-of-stake nodes for storing data, processing transactions, and adding new blockchain blocks can be attributed to just 2 addresses. Really think about that. 2 addresses. So two we'll just say individuals, which is not, but we'll just say individuals, right? They control almost half of the power. So if we're talking about governance, or we're talking about voting on certain things that happen within the chain, it's like, wow, 2 people can cast so much power within that. I mean, that's not even counting. If we come down here, you can see it says 28.97. That's 19.29.7, and then it says 16.18, and that's A263. I mean, who knows? I mean, even these top 2 can be a part of this. I mean, who knows who's in this? Who knows who the disguised wells are? No one really knows the details. I mean, I'm sure, obviously, there's people that's involved, but it's like, it's not out there yet. There hasn't been, third-party people actually diving into the schematics and the ins and outs of kind of what's been happening when it comes to Ethereum from the ICO stage all the way till now. That's why they say an investigation has to happen, because we got to know who these disguised wells are. We got to know that, obviously, based on the evidence we see, I mean, it looks like Ethereum isn't decentralized. It's totally centralized. But, until we have, hard proof, it is what it is, man. It's crazy. It's crazy, though. I wanted to touch on this. So this is, I forgot this gentleman's name. What does it say right here? I can't see it, but this says no one would listen. So this is a gentleman who was a whistleblower for the Bernie Madoff stuff, but like no one would listen. And I think he was talking about, he had multiple instances where he tried to, speak out and file certain things to say, hey, pay attention to this. This is happening. This is our version of ETHgate, which we think ETHgate is going to be the biggest thing in financial history. But yeah, so this is that gentleman there. Stefan Huber says, never did the SEC talk about individual projects. They said ICOs were illegal, but the SEC director who received $15 million from a member of the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance gave Ethereum a regulatory free pass while defying orders from the ethics office, joking about bribery, and continuing to meet with the Ethereum Enterprise Ethereum Alliance members, paying themselves lunch while issuing non-action letters only for ETH projects, and even initiating a lawsuit against the biggest competitor of clients of his and Clayton's law firm. And not a single Congress member asked any questions about it. This whole thing is like if back then, despite warnings from thousands of whistleblowers, the SEC had gone before the press and declared Madoff the only legitimate investment advisor, brought charges against his competitors, and tried to cover it all up. So literally, and this is what I just said. It's like, yeah, that was a big deal, but like ETHgate and everything that's been happening. I mean, that's been happening from the Ethereum free pass piece to all the people involved, from government to these private sectors to, consensus and the formation of Ethereum's ICO and all that stuff, right? This is going to be the biggest story. And that's why an investigation needs to happen. It's going to be a waiting game to see what's happening. I think it's going to be the most intriguing and interesting documentary that comes out, when all this stuff surfaces. And quite honestly, I'm really curious to know if we're ever going to see those him in drafts and emails from the Ethereum free pass speech. A lot of people claim that, there's no way that they're going to allow that to happen, which I totally agree, but it would be quite interesting if we did. But yeah, crazy times, man. I wanted to put this up from Kevin Cage. It says, so they're talking about Swift is like gung-ho on and blockchain and digital assets. So it says Swift mocked crypto and digital assets years ago, just like JP Morgan did. They tell you one thing, but they're doing something completely different. Shady. They call it, head faking or juking you, telling you one thing, doing. That's why they say when it comes to, these people that you may look up to, it's like, hey, don't do as they say, do as they do. in regards of this investing world, the financial world. And then he continues, Kevin Cage continues, it says, in 2022, Swift is hosting crypto hackathons discussing benefits of interoperability and ownership. Swift predicts digital asset tokenization could reach volumes of 24 trillion in 5 years. 24 trillion, you guys, look at this. We are under $1 trillion market cap. So you 24x that. You do the math. And that's nothing. I mean, you have other financial institutions and corporations and these researchers that come with these numbers, and they say, 40 trillion here, 100 trillion, 200 trillion. Like, who knows where this space is going to go? I mean, literally the sky's the limit. It's absolutely wild. But I mean, look, Swift goes from hating on it, a lot of negativity campaigns, to hackathons and discussing the benefits, predicting 24 trillion in 5 years. I mean, it's absolutely nuts. Shout out Kevin Cage. But that's what I have for you. I didn't want it to be this long, but there's a lot of stuff going on. But make sure you come to the Crypto's Key Conversation YouTube channel, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at Crypto'sKey1. I really appreciate your support, you guys. I really do. I'm excited to continue to grow this community in the channel. With all that being said, stay strong out there. Be safe.